Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats? I hope you got me something to eat. Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party. I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party. Oh, chocolate and dabbing, maybe some microphone grabbing at the after party. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the after party. Today we are joined by, I have two guests today. One of them you're aware of. We're going to welcome Canada Graphs in the house.
Hello again.
Yeah, we're excited to have him back. We're going to talk a lot about some of the milliseconds of Batwoman that we got on the Flash, because I think that's kind of exciting there. And special guest, first time on the after party. You guys know him from the chat, and I'm sure you've seen him before. We have Lance from Geek Information in the house. Welcome, Lance, to the stream. And see, you're at your setup. If you guys weren't aware, he is a musician, and if you have not been following him on social media, you need to. He puts out a lot of really cool drum segments, so it's very exciting. How are you doing today, Lance? How are things going?
I am good. Everything is going well. How about you guys?
Yeah, we're pretty good. How about you, Canada Graphs? You got some filming to do later, right? You're going out.
Yeah, I mean, shortly after I'm done here, I will be heading to a Batwoman set. Hopefully it's good. They've been downtown a lot the last week and a half, but I've got almost nothing from it. It's been a lot of indoors and weird setups, so hopefully tonight's good.
Yeah. We got a super chat from Cal right away asking all three of us, how are you guys doing? Thank you for the super chat, Cal. I'm doing really good. Lance said he's doing good. And Canada Graphs is doing good. So we're all doing good, but thank you for sending over the super chat. It's much appreciated. So we're really, really excited. We're going to be doing 3 topics today. We're going to talk about a new casting announcement for The Flash. That's going to be the first thing we talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about the Superman and Lois trailer. We're not going to show the trailer, but we are going to look through some of the pictures and talk about some of the information there. And we're going to dive into part 4 of Armageddon, and I can't wait to talk about that with both Canada Graphs and Lance. I think it's going to be really exciting. As always, you guys can drop super chats if you would like, and we will answer them in a timely manner. And we also have the community tab with some questions over there. Lance, if you wanted to jump over to the community tab on my page and look for the viewer questions and see if there's one you would like to answer, feel free to do so. And if not, you can just answer whichever ones we pick. We like to do at least one per person, so there you go. No pressure, but go ahead. Okay. Anyway, let's start out with the casting announcement. This is really exciting. So this just came out, I think, today, right, guys? Wasn't it released today? Yeah. So this is, and I don't know if I'm going to get this name right. Tanya Wazo. What? That's a.
I think that's how you say it. That's how I was saying it.
It's not Tanya or Tanya. It's Tanya. I don't think I've ever have either of you ever seen a name like Wazo. First of all, is a really wild last name, but Tanya is. I don't.
Yeah, Tanya is not a name I've ever heard in my life yet.
Yeah. So this is Apparition / Phantom Girl. And this is the press release for it. It says the Flash is getting a new metahuman. Mika Abdallah, hope I got her name right, has joined the CW Arrowverse series, the Rap can exclusively report. Abdallah will play Tanya Wazo. Gosh, I'm going to get that wrong so many times. I know it. A character DC comic fans best known as Apparition, a member of the Legion of Superhero, though no details were immediately available when or if Tanya would get a superhero name on the show. So we know she's coming to the show as Tanya, but there's no confirmation, I guess, that she's going to have a name, I guess. I don't think they would spoil that this early. I guess they want that to be the mystery of the character.
I mean, I don't want, sorry to jump in. Like,
no, go ahead.
If they're casting her for more than a 1-episode shot, eventually she's going to become a superhero name, you know?
Yeah.
They're not going to have Tanya Wazo out in the field, you know?
And Yeah, and this right here, it says, on The Flash, she'll make her debut after Iris West Allen, editor of CC Citizen Media, which, by the way, we were curious if that was going to carry over from Armageddon, and this kind of confirms that it is. Starts looking into her. Here's the character description. After years of successfully hiding in plain sight, reluctant meta-teenager Tenya Wazo's life is turned upside down. I'm just going to call her Apparition. Apparition's life is turned upside down when she becomes a subject of the Iris West Allen ladies investigation for CC Media, Citizen Media, CCCM. Soon, Tenya is thrust into a dangerous world she'll never know existed, one that will change her life forever. So, Lance, what do you think of this casting? Is this a character that you... Because I'll be honest, I didn't know a lot about her. I knew she was on the Legion of Superheroes, but I would have never guessed this character was coming to the Flash. Is this somebody you're familiar with the comics? How do you feel about this character?
Not really from the comics. I only vaguely remember her from the Legion of Superheroes cartoon. So once I saw this casting, I was like, okay, that's weird, but it seems like she's really the apparition from the Legion, except just in present day, it's not like a thing like they did with Nia Nal over on Supergirl. So right. I just want to see how is this all gonna come together. That's all I'm waiting to see.
Now, Canada Graphs, the actress that plays Tenya, has she ever done any other stuff in Vancouver? Abdallah?
If she has, she was so far off my radar at the time, I didn't know that she was here.
Okay.
Like, lots of people come through Vancouver, in their first or second projects, and you don't know who they are yet, So she could have, but I don't know her yet.
Yeah, so this is pretty exciting, though, because, we don't know if she's part of an investigation for Iris. I would go out on a limb and say that this is going to be a slightly separate story from the main Team Flash story, because it seems like this is specifically about CCC Media. So this is going to give Iris something to do, something for her to have outside of Team Flash, and that's pretty exciting. As we move on, though, are either of you guys excited about the fact that Iris seems like she's getting some specific stuff outside of Team Flash? Because I know not everybody's excited about that character. I happen to really enjoy her so far this season. So,
yeah, I mean, her doing literally anything except hanging around at Star Labs is a relief. I'm glad to see they have found something for her. Now, I have this concern that they will eventually move the media part of it onto like Allegra and stuff, and we'll see Iris back hanging out with Barry all the time, because the West Allen fans will just like get impatient, and the writers want to appease just them. So I have a feeling eventually we're going to move away from CCCM on a regular basis, and we're going to get back to Iris hanging out in Star Labs. But for now, right now, liking it.
Okay. What about you, Lance? Thoughts on this? On Iris?
I really love where they have her at. Like you, I was afraid that they were going to, regress the whole CCC media thing with the whole timeline fix and what have you. But I'm really glad where they have her, and they're keeping her there. And she's not Team Flash heavy. She's not going to be there 24/7, because, I love Candice Patton. I love Iris. She should have her own storyline as well. If she's a main, she should not be tied to Barry in Team Flash 24/7.
Right.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Ash Berry on here with the $10 super chat. He goes, man, this episode spent a lot of time developing characters who ceased to exist by the end of it, and who never came to exist as characters to begin with. Chester/Allegra once again dragged the show down. So I can't wait to talk about this, Ash, but I will say, without spoilers, because I want to give people a chance before we get there. Yes, the one disappointing thing for me about this episode is I thought some of this stuff from 2031 would actually tie into 2021. And other than like setting up stuff, like backwardsly setting them up, reversely setting them up, there wasn't a lot of stuff in that future storyline that did anything except pander to certain fans of certain characters, which I thought was a little strange. Were you guys disappointed at all that most of that is just not going to matter at the end, or, Yeah.
I'm more happy it doesn't, because it would be annoying if we knew these details were set in stone down the line. I'm actually kind of glad they just wiped the existence of it. Is it a little annoying? Yeah, but I'd rather not know etched in stone that like Ryan Choi becomes an asshole, that Ryan and Sophie got together, that Chilblain and Frost are hooking up and back. Like, we can go into the show knowing these things aren't yet a thing or may never be a thing, at least. You know?
Well, thank you for the super chat there. We have another one from Gamerman here. He goes, do you think Iris Media Empire was erased since all the events of Armageddon were erased? Well, no, we've confirmed now with that casting that they're going to continue to move forward with that. I will say, though, not necessarily exactly what this question is. I wonder if Iris in Eobard's reverse flashpoint was still also a media mogul, like she had her own company, because it seemed to me like she was very submissive to him, like he seemed to be very controlling of her, and so I don't know if that was exactly the same. So that also brings into question all of her friendships, like with Ryan and stuff like that. Would those things have existed if we had our Iris opposed to the one that existed in reverse flashpoint? So
it could have still been a barista.
I mean, maybe, I don't know, because Eobard, like it was leaking out a little bit. The evil stuff with him was leaking out a little bit.
Oh, 100%
in the episode. Okay, so we're gonna move over now and talk about the stuff from the Superman and Lois season 2 trailer. I'm not going to show the trailer, but I'm going to go through some of these pictures and talk a bit about one of the new characters in there. Have either of you not seen the trailer? Did you watch it yet, or did you not watch it?
I saw it once.
What about you, Lance?
I've seen it like 3 times. I love
it. All right. So it looks really good. It looks like the quality is the same here. We have Superman, presuming on the base and dealing, and we see this throughout the trailer. He's dealing with some kind of like something's not right with him. Like his powers are not working correctly, and I don't know if that's just in one episode or if that's something that's going to be throughout the whole season. Lois is obviously front and center. She's got a lot of stuff in this trailer, and it seems like she's going to be a very important character again in season 2. I loved Lois. Any thoughts on this? Are you happy to see Lois back and very prominently featured, or are you more of like a Superman fan? You don't want to see as much of Lois. What thoughts on that?
I mean, the show is literally titled Superman and Lois. So anyone that goes into the show thinking it's going to be like Superman centric, I mean, that's on them, That
was a targeted question because I saw people upset about the trailer showing so much Lois and not so much Superman. So.
But here's the difference I have between this and the difference I have between like the Flash focusing so much on West Allen and Arrow so much on Olicity is we knew going in what we're getting with the title. So I perfectly accept that she's going to be a key part of the show, long as they have storylines that are hers, Just like the Flash issue,
I just had to pull this up from Gwendolyn. She says, shaking my head, Allegra is a non-factor character. There's no use for her. Her powers are pointless on the field. Gwendolyn! I love it when you come through with the truth bomb. It's really good. And you, Lance, any thoughts on Lois? Or do you love this? I never asked you really. Do you love this show like you love the Flash and stuff? Or
yes. When I first heard about it, like a few others, I was kind of iffy about it. But when the first trailer dropped, the real trailer, not the animated clips, when the first trailer dropped, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be something I actually pay attention to. Then with the pilot, I completely fell in love with it. I'm glad that they're keeping Lois with the same energy, keeping her right front and center next to Clark Superman. Like Canada Graph said, the show is titled Superman and Lois. I mean, we can turn around, and if they did regress her character, we will have people complaining about that. So
that's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true. So we see that the general is still around, even though he's not working in charge of the division of the government now. He's just kind of retired, chilling with the family, which I expected to see. This is what I'm really excited for. So Nat is back with John. And now we're going to figure out, I'm hoping that she's going to give information on how she got there and all of the science behind that. The boys are also featured in the trailer, of course. And John, God, this was my favorite character from season 1 because his storyline was so amazing. Like the build up to it, the tricks, the shifting of it. Are you happy to see him back for season 2, you guys? Or is this somebody that you guys really enjoyed from season 1? Or
I expected him to probably be back simply because, I also saw him in town this year, but besides that, just like they put a lot of money into that suit that they made for him. I didn't think they were just gonna like put that aside and never use it again,
Yeah. You, Lance, were you happy with this character
Yes.
with
With all the
John Henry Irons?
with all the twists and turns that his character took, when I found out we was actually getting a live action version of Steel, I was like, yes, give me all the content that we can get with him. I'm glad he's back.
Not the Shaq version, though.
No, not the Shaq. No, please don't even speak that up. No, please no.
This
Never
is the
again.
proper version. You know, the only thing that would make this better is if they gave you the red cape and then, you know, and all that and everything. I would be totally about it.
I've actually seen some people referring back to that specific part in the trailer with how the chest is all dented.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, you know, at the end of this season, not trying to push it too quick, he eventually says, maybe I should put that right there.
That would be great. Yeah, that makes sense, actually. And here's Nat again, who looks like it's going to play a big part in Lois's story, because clearly this is it's a weird thing. So she's genetically Lois's daughter, but not this Lois. So
Yeah.
same DNA, completely different. It's like having a twin sister or brother that has a child. It's really, really weird. But I'm so happy to see her because I enjoyed her in the flashbacks. And so I'm happy to have her back in present day. Great shot there of Superman. This is when they're dealing with the submarine scene. And okay, so this is one of the new characters. This is Lieutenant Anderson, who in the comics is a character named Outburst. Now, in the comics, he's like a Magneto character. He can control. He's like got magnetic powers or whatever. Do you think that they will do that to make him like? Because he's already the head of the division that the general retired from. Do you think they would go as far to make him also like a meta and give him powers so he could fight Superman? Do you think that's going to happen? Would you want to see that, or would you prefer for them to just keep him, you know, as the lieutenant in charge of this division? What do you think?
That's a good question.
I mean, I always, whenever I see a casting in a superhero show and it's already linked to a character that exists in the comics or previous iterations, I just assume they're eventually going down the line towards whatever that like hero or villain's name is going to be. So just name dropping this character would be weird to not have the payoff somewhere down the road.
Right.
So got to assume that eventually he's going to be that character.
And it returns on January 11th, so it's literally like a month away. So everybody that was wondering about it, it's about a month away. Very exciting stuff. We have a super chat here from Cal. Again, 49 super chat. He goes, do you think in Superman and Lois season 2 we'll see Jonathan get powers? So this is one of the things I talked about a lot in season 1. I wanted to see something. Like, even if it was like he had just heat vision, if he had super strength, something that like made it seem like he was getting something, because he has DNA from both of his parents, so he should have something. Are you okay with just Jordan having powers, or would you guys prefer to see, you know, like Jonathan get something? How do you feel about this, and do you think they're going to go this route in season 2? Because it took Jordan an entire season just to learn how to control one aspect of his powers, basically. So do you think they'll leave him powerless? Maybe give him a suit because he's really close with John. So
I don't know. I think at least they might hold off for a while into, like, it might be late season 2 or maybe something shows, but they might just legitimately try and make him just be a normal human in the sense of just not like that way you have one that's like Clark and one more like Lois.
Mm-hmm.
And they might go that route.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think when we all first saw the show, we assumed Jonathan was going to be the one with powers just because he was already the elite athlete, everything like that. And I think that turn to make Jordan the one with it, it might be as far as they go with all of this. Right. Now, I could be wrong, but it's just a thought I had. I'm just kind of like, you know, you've got Superman, you've got Lois, one's a Kryptonian, one's a human. Kind of makes a little bit of sense to have one kid have powers and maybe one just be average, you know?
Right. What about you, Lance? Thoughts on that?
I was thinking, like, towards the beginning of last season that he was going to be the one to get powers, like Canada Graph said. But as it went on and it was revealed that it was a flip-flop, I'm like, okay, I'm partially cool with this, but as the series progresses, I would like to see him have, you know, like certain outbursts of power. Just don't make it a slow burn, but don't make it happen too quickly. Like probably towards the end of this season or like in the middle, they start teasing it a little bit more because I mean, even the whole thing in the first season with him throwing the football. No normal kid can do that and break
Right.
break a tire swing like that. Like
Yeah.
that's not a
Good
normal
point.
human
Yeah,
thing
good
to
point.
do.
Yeah, and also I would say this is one of the things I kept throwing out there, and even Candygraphs touched on it. Since he is of both a human and a Kryptonian, I get that maybe one would have more power than the other because sometimes that does happen in that way. But I still feel like he should possibly have. Do you need to step away for a second, Lance?
Yeah, my oldest is. I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I feel like that maybe he should have something, but if he doesn't, I'll be okay with that too. It doesn't matter at all. All right, so this is from Gamerman. He goes, thoughts on Armageddon not being canon. So I guess you mean in the sense that it took place in a timeline that doesn't exist anymore or isn't around anymore. I don't know. I think are people having an issue with that? I haven't really seen anybody complaining about that online. And they say that Armageddon's going to have ramifications outside of this event. We're going to have two characters that come out of this, two villains that come out of this. And I'm pretty sure that's not the only thing that's going to change. We're going to see probably some other changes as well. So you don't have an issue with it not being canon, right?
No, I personally don't. I would have been a little disappointed if all of that, like I said earlier, I think I actually repeating myself, all that 2031 stuff, I'm happy that it's been like, erased from the board because it would be weird.
Yeah. So what about you, Lance? It says your thoughts on Armageddon not being canon, I guess meaning that it takes place in a erased timeline. I don't really have a big issue with that. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't have a big issue with it, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's weird, and at the same time, it isn't because you have all the great stuff that happened between Barry and Jefferson, and that's just gone.
Yeah,
like the good conversation. So it's just like, what are we doing?
Okay.
What are you thinking?
So I saw your conversation yesterday, Eric, on Ben's stream where you guys were talking about all the timeline changes and the thing with the cup and the cracks in that.
Yeah.
That would be all the stuff from 2021 to 2031. Anything up to the moment that he returned technically is still intact because he hasn't gone back behind that point. But
the problem is the Reverse Flash did. That's the problem.
Yeah. Good point. Good. You know what? I didn't think of that. Okay.
Yeah. So,
but hold on. I have a counterpoint to that.
Right.
When he went back to 2013 or whatever it was, or even back to Barry being a child, technically, couldn't those changes already have been in the timeline we're in right now, and we've just never have known?
Well, see, that's one of the issues we'll talk about here in a second because I actually have that in my notes, and
okay.
We'll probably let's go ahead and jump into that. Matter of fact, I got all my notes here. We'll pull this up on the stream. So, just so you guys know, let me put it up on the screen now. Flash spoilers. We're going to be talking spoilers, and this is going to be for Armageddon. And I know we've already talked a few of them with some of the questions, but we're going to dive into a lot more here. And the first thing I want to talk about before we get into your thoughts, Candygraphs, we're not going to forget that. We are going to get there. What did we think of this suit once we saw it in action? This Reverse Flash suit on Barry. What did you think of it total? Like your full thoughts on it?
It looks better in the. I saw it in person, obviously on the set that they did those outdoor scenes, and it didn't look like it had this much detail in like the sides and all that. Like I know it had the button-up thing that goes down the middle. But I don't remember all the ribbing on the side that it has in live action. So it looks much better here than the photos we got.
Now, Lance, you saw the early photos when Candygraphs released them and some of the other ones came out.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Because I don't remember seeing a lot of the detailing in those photos either, and this looks great to me.
Yeah, I don't remember that. And then once they released the HD photos, the promotional photos for the episode, I'm like, okay, yeah, that looks amazing. It just shows like how much more detail that they could put into something after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
So I also say that a lot of people don't realize this isn't an exact replica of the red Flash suit. This is different. It's got like the shoulder treatments are different. There's differences in the gloves, in the knees, and the elbows, in the midsection there. That's completely different from the other Flash suit. It goes in more of a sharp edge opposed to like the more rounded edges of the Flash suit. It's not the exact copy. They actually went through and did some stuff to this. All right, so let's move into the next thing here. Let's talk about Batwoman. in this episode.
All right.
So these are things that I was like, we're gonna go through things that we wanted or things that I wanted, and then what we actually got. And it's like ordering online and then getting it at home, basically. So number one, I was excited to see that she was gonna be a part of this event. I don't know about you guys, but we've not had a proper crossover in a really long time. And so I was happy to see not only that Batwoman was the character, but this would also be the first time that she would meet with Barry Allen. The other thing is a lot of people wanted to see her with Iris, and I understand, and that made sense to me. And I thought that was also a good thing, because the reality is Iris is an investigator, and that's what Batman is as a character. So for Batwoman to sort of take that role, I thought that would be an interesting conversation for them to have. And again, I wanted to see her meet Barry, and that's not exactly what we got. So we move on here. What we got was a short couple of scenes with Batwoman, a great scene with Iris, but it was basically pandering to shipping. There was a comment about a woman in red, and Canada, you got a question from our comment section. We'll go over here in a second. And basically teasers for her own show, setting up a relationship with Sophie and adoption of a child, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen. It was very shipping heavy with Batwoman being in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I love Javicia. I love Ryan. So it was great to see her there, but I think it was a wasted opportunity. We'll get to your question in a second, Canada Grass, but I want to jump to Lance quickly. You're watching Batwoman right now. Well, not right now, but you're caught up with the show, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What were you thinking about seeing her on here? And did this live up to your expectations of what you wanted from Batwoman in this event?
I wouldn't say it lived up to my expectations at all, but I would say I kind of like, I lowered them basically based on the interview that Grant gave when he said when he meets Javicia Leslie's Batwoman, it's not what we expect. Yeah. So that made me lower my expectations. And as we got closer and closer to him talking about going to the future, and they're saying that she's gonna be in episode 4 and all of this other stuff, I'm like, okay, now I get it. It was cool seeing her on the Flash. Wish it was a regular timeline.
I agree with you. And Matthew V. Haynes, shout out to Matthew V. Haynes here. Love his channel. If you did not see our Flash Enter Flash Time episode of Content Creator Binge Battle, go and check it out on my channel. Good to see you. He says, wait, Batwoman didn't participate? Well, she had an action scene at the beginning and a conversation with Iris, and that was it. That was all we got with her.
I had to go handle
Two-Face. Yeah. It's pretty wild there. Ashbury on here. We're gonna get to you, Catagraphs. Don't worry. I did not forget. $5 super chat. Damn, I thought Ryan Choi being the paragon of humanity means he represents the best aspects of humanity. So why would you write him as a cynical dude? Yeah. Trust me, we'll talk about Ryan in a second, but I totally agree with you. By the way, that also means that whatever Eobard did in the past affected more than just Barry, because Ryan being a completely different character tells me that there was other things that changed that had absolutely nothing to do with Barry Allen. That also makes me wonder, does that mean that Crisis never happened in Reverse Flashpoint?
That's what I was thinking, because it's like Earth Prime, they've already established that Crisis never actually happened to Earth Prime.
Yeah.
So it's like, how did they end up meeting Ryan Choi in the first place?
Yeah.
No, because Crisis did happen. Because remember when Damien had the whatever stone that was, and he like looked at Barry's thing, and then he says to him a few minutes later, he's like, "You literally restarted a universe with love."
True, but so, I just figured that was because, of course, Barry would remember that because he had his other memories.
And that's a contradiction then, because that brings up another plot hole, because if Crisis did happen, then why is Ryan the way he is? They would have been the Paragons.
Exactly.
Who knows what happens in 10 years? Apparently I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago.
They all look the effing same to me. I mean, except for
Chester. No one ages in Central City apparently now.
Went through the trouble of making Chester look so much older, but everybody else looks the same.
Did they really make him look older just because they put different hair on him?
Okay, let me say this. They had him have a glow up. He went from Chester like the nerdy Chester to like, I'm Chester. Like, come on in, baby.
Okay.
That was kind of.
But again, that's just 10 years and your life changing, you know?
Yeah. Ash with another $5 super chat. He goes, Ryan Batwoman didn't matter in the episode. In fact, it feels like they specifically brought her in to hype up her own show by beating Barry up. I mean, I don't know about that. They definitely brought her in to hype up the relationship between her and Sophie, though. That's for sure. 100%.
Yeah. The one thing that there was an overarching thing in this episode that goes back to a minute ago when I was talking about the Damien thing, and that was everybody's love being, leading up to Barry having to go trust like love or whatever to get him back to 2021. So all these love things were like sparkled in there for us to like be like, oh yay. But
yeah, somebody said Chester was Milli Vanilli. Girl, you know.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Ooh, ooh. Oh wait, demonetized. Don't want to do that. But anyway, but there was a mention. So the coolest thing about our conversation. Well, first of all, I loved Candace and Javicia together. That was a great scene. I think.
Yes, actually,
that was one of the best.
Surprisingly, one of the best parts of the episode.
Yeah. But I want to talk about the Lady in Red they said that they faced off against, which is possibly setting up a Red Death storyline. At least a lot of people feel that way. You had a question from the community tab, Canada Graph, so read out who the question is from.
I don't have it in front of me. Do you?
Well, no, I do not.
I closed the tab.
Do you remember whose question it was?
No. It was a blue circle with a C. So can you find it?
Okay. Charles Burrows.
Yes.
Right, this is one of our questions today. He goes, who do you think the Lady in Red was in the Batwoman need a velocity gun to stop? Was that a tease for Red Alice or a gendered swap Red Death? I don't think so. I think they're going through a lot of trouble of redeeming Alice on Batwoman. I don't think we're going to see Alice revert back to being a criminal. I just don't think that's going to happen. And if it does, it'll be like a misdirect. I don't think she's going to do that. They really want her to be an anti-hero, so I think that's the direction they're going with her. So that leaves Red Death, right? Lance, do you think this means we're going to see like a Wallace Day Ruby Rose / Kate Kane Red Death character they're facing off against? Maybe Wallace Day becomes Red Death or something like that with her Kate Kane. I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
I would be lying if I said I didn't think it was dope. I think that would be a really good take and twist on the character, but I don't know.
I was gonna say, just speak your truth. That's all you got to do.
I don't know. I think it would be cool, but you already know what's gonna happen.
It's never going to be as cool as we want it to be. That's just the reality of it. Canada Graphs, what do you think? Would you like to see this version, like a female version of Red Death? Would this make sense? Because I'll be honest, I don't want to see the Bruce Wayne version from the comics. I know a lot of people want to, but it doesn't make sense in the Arrowverse.
So here's the thing. I think most people that are here know I'm not a comic book reader, so I don't have that personal attachment to the character that others would have. So I can live with them gender swapping the character. I would maybe not get, other fans who are attached to it being Bruce. I might not have that same like frustration over it.
Right.
Here's the problem, though.
Mm-hmm.
So we know there's no way in hell Ruby is ever coming back.
Right.
Wallace seems to be on the outs with the cast.
Right.
Are they going to recast her?
Okay, so let me say this. What if just follow me on this? How cool would this be if Red Death was actually Sophie? If there was an alternate version of Sophie that ends up becoming Red Death, because that would add a personal touch to it for Ryan Wilder. So I don't want to see Ryan as Red Death. I don't want to see another version of her as Red Death. I think that would be too predictable. I think someone like Sophie, because we see Mary playing Poison Ivy,
right?
So why not make Red Death? I don't know. I guess they could do Alice. I don't know.
Horrible thought. We see that Mary is, Poison Mary now. What if they decide to do a storyline where Luke somehow becomes a bad guy for a couple episodes?
Well, yeah, that could happen. I think there's a potential for every character to switch over to be a villain. I just don't know if I want to see Ryan as a villain. I think Ryan, she's worked so hard to get where she is, and she's already been in prison and stuff. I don't want to see her go back through that.
Let Ryan stay the hero so she can stay the focus.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so let's move on here. We got Defunct with a $5 super chat. Couldn't ignore the Flash's impossible flitting between timelines, arbitrary stroke of midnight stuff, Speed Force issues, etc. Sci-fi fails. We're going to talk about that, Defunct. Trust me, I have a whole slide dedicated to that. Probably 2 slides dedicated to that. We got a lot to talk about. We're only 30 minutes into the stream, everyone. Do not worry. I appreciate your super chat. We are going to get there. I absolutely promise you. We have Martin here with a 998 super chat. Thoughts on Red Death? For me, when it was name dropped, there's nothing but confirmation that he exists in the Arrowverse. That's it. We'll never see Earth 52 or Bruce Wayne suited up and real talk. I agree. So I don't think we'll ever see the Bruce Wayne version of Red Death in the Arrowverse. I don't think that'll ever happen. Or either one of you guys think we'll see that? I don't see that happening.
No.
Not unless something drastically changed. Sorry. Yeah, you go first, there, Lance.
You just said what I was about to say. Not if something drastically changes within the confines of Warner Brothers and the CW, and they just say, okay, you can have Bruce Wayne back. Figure out a way for him to just randomly show up, and then they do it that way. But I mean, I highly doubt that happens. So yeah, I don't think he's ever gonna show up.
I think we
like
would be
that.
more likely to see a Red Death on Titans than we would in the Arrowverse, because they're already really used Bruce Wayne quite heavily over on Titans.
Old Red Death.
He really is Red Death. He's almost dead, basically. It's like, here he comes with his cane. Like, yeah. Let's see here. Let's go. We got another super chat here. Oh, from Martin as well. Do you really want the same writers who wrote a storyline where 4 godlike beings who were evil but were created out of love for Barry, dad, and Iris mom? No concept, good execution will fail. You had to go there, Martin, right? You had to take us back to season 7. Possibly, I would go as far to say maybe this is a hot take. I don't know. Chat can let me know. You guys can let me know. I think the Forces storyline was the absolute worst storyline that Flash has ever done.
I agree.
Yes.
I think it's worse than Nora, personally.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least Nora had some redeeming plot stuff. Like, that was... The Forces storyline was, like, awful. I can't think of anything I loved out of it at all. I mean, it was just bad.
For me, it wasn't even just the Forces storyline. It was some of the dialogue in the storyline.
Yeah.
On top of it.
The mom, dad, bro, sis.
And let me say, the thing is, when Dion came back this season, he wasn't cringe. He didn't call her mom. No. There was no weird conversation. Why couldn't they have just done that during the Forces storyline? I mean, they could have agreed they were the parents of these Forces, but the Forces didn't have to call them mom and dad. I thought that was so stupid. Completely separate from the topic, but thank you so much, Martin. I just wanted to point that out there. I saw another super chat, and then we'll move on to the next one here. This is from Ash. $5 super chat. He goes, damn, they really made Ryan Choi the second coming of Accelerated Man. Gave him a cool costume for 5 seconds. Not the second coming of Accelerated Man. That's so appropriate. So wrong.
I forgot about Accelerated Man until every time someone brings him up.
Oh, I should do a video on that just for the fun of it. Be like, is Accelerated Man coming back for season 8? That's who's going to come back. That's what this thing is going to cause. Accelerated Man will be one of the characters that comes back. So you know what's weird is they could have easily used him. I don't know why they didn't. The costume was already there. They already made the costume for him. They just never did anything with him. So weird that happened. Let's see. I think we're caught up on super chats. Was that that's the last one. All right, so let's move on here. Sentinel, we have Alex from Supergirl. This is what we were expecting to see. How this all connects to Supergirl, because that's cool, right? How she's been upgraded as a superhero, because we knew that it's been 10 years and she's had that weapon on her wrist, and her interactions with Team Flash. However, what we got was no real mention of Supergirl. She wasn't there. Nothing explained. At least they mentioned in present day that her and John were off-world, but where were they in 2031? No upgrade to her suit. So there we go. I mean, other than them being able to change. By the way, Batwoman and Sentinel both changed their costumes like that. I guess it was nanotech. I don't know what else it would be. And her interactions were awful. She had the worst scene. Like the worst scenes in the episode were with Alex, Chester, and Ryan, and Allegra. They were the worst stuff from this episode. I don't know if you will agree or disagree with me, but the forceful nature of trying to set up Chester and Allegra's relationship created that entire set of scenes with these characters. Alex was completely underused, and these scenes to me felt like a Supergirl episode. This part felt like it was written by the people that write Supergirl. Your thoughts on Alex and just this whole, matter of fact, let me move the slide over. This whole thing, the most obvious Force storyline this week, maybe in the entire event, it was reverse relationships, setting up their romance by telling us it's destined to happen. It was just lazy. What are your thoughts on all of this together? The Alex stuff and the Chester and Allegra stuff. Either of you can go first.
Obviously, Chester Allegra is the end game of the Arrowverse. I don't know why you're so hard on it. I like both of these characters individually, but this
I do too.
Is the most forced anything I have seen on any of the shows, and there's a lot of ones that I've criticized for being forced. I don't know, man. I don't know if like Brandon and Kayla are like a couple off screen and they just are trying to write them together so they could. I don't know. I don't know, but it's weird the way they're pushing this one so hard. As for the Alex stuff, yeah, when she came into the room to like yell at Chester about ghosting Allegra, I just was, I
10
like I
years
just
ago.
did now. I was like, what
yesterday?
is?
It was 10 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be plain and blunt. Still, probably my second favorite episode out of this crossover. But
Okay,
you were right when you point out all of the writing flaws in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many just I don't know what they were thinking moments.
What about you, Lance? Did you enjoy or not enjoy this plot of the episode?
Like you said, this was one of my favorite episodes out of this whole event so far. But my wife can attest to this. We were both sitting there, like when these scenes popped up, we were just like, "Why? It just what is this?" It's like we all know Eric Wallace loves love. We know he loves love. He's going to beat us over the head with it. This was just uncalled for. Like, I don't care about Chester kissing Allegra. They're in the middle of Armageddon is literally about to happen. And then they kiss? What?
Let me say, so first of all, we got Ryan and Chester in their little space doing their tech stuff, right? Here comes Alex. Chester, how dare you ghost Allegra 10 years ago? And I'm like, what? Like, first of all, what does Ryan have to do with that? You come in like putting Chester on blast in front of Ryan for something that happened 10 years ago. Also, my question is, when they explain what happened, because Chester's like, well, I went up to get breakfast or whatever, and when I came back, she was already gone. And I guess when she woke up and he wasn't there, she thought that he was already gone. Let me just put this out there to make this make sense, right? They've been together, working together for 10 years. They were also people that had known each other before that and whatnot. They hooked up. It wasn't like Tinder. This wasn't like they met on some dating site and they had a one-night stand, right? If I woke up next to someone that I had been talking to for a really long time and they weren't there, my first reaction would be, let me text them, let me call them and find out what happened.
Exactly.
Right?
No. Your first reaction is to just bounce. Like,
yeah.
Never talk about it again.
So Allegra woke up. He wasn't there. She did not do that. So she left. Fair enough. We'll say that she didn't do it, right? Chester gets back. He also chooses not to text her or call and be like, hey, like, what's going on? I'm back with breakfast. Where did you go? Whatever. Like, that's the most logical reaction to that. But no, instead, what they're insisting here is that for 10 years after this happened, they worked together and never talked about that. Not one time. No one else that knew they went. Yeah, but no one else in the room was like, hey, how did the date go? What happened? Like, literally, this conversation never happened. This was the dumbest, laziest, most awful plot point. Even with the time travel stuff that I have issues with, this was a waste of time. It was literally there to set up the destined to be situation between Chester and Allegra.
I as I've been sitting here listening to you say this, the thought's gone through my head. Here's what had to happen. Somebody in the writer's room had to think this up. Mm-hmm. They then had to write it, put it in front of the rest of the writer's room, have the rest of the writer's room go, yeah, let's do this. And then film the scene, and then edit the scene, and at no time did anyone think to cut this scene.
Right.
Like, that's
no one in the chain of command all the way through.
It's like,
I don't.
I'm sorry, Kid of the Grass. You got me thinking. It's like, Grant, I'm sure he has all the pull in the world on this set in the writer's room. He can go to Eric. He can be like, hey, this
I don't think Grant reads other people's parts of the script.
Oh, maybe not.
Honestly, maybe not.
Still, if he did, Lance, I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, he would probably be like, okay, yeah, this is stupid. Like,
well, Grant, actually, the whole breakdancing thing, he had a conversation with Eric about that. Like, why am I doing this? What would be the purpose of this? And they had to write it in that he learned it on the computer because that was the only way it made any sense to him.
Yeah.
So Gwendolyn has a Team Eric member super chat here. It says, Ryan and Alex wasted on a waste of a storyline. Yeah.
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 Absolutely, 100%. Here we go. Ash with a $5 super. Ash, you're dropping truth bombs too all night. Damn, Kara,
Yeah.
John, and Clark just sat back and let the world be destroyed. Not as destroyed as Ryan Choi and Alex were there for a pointless storyline. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that this is why I said the whole thing with these characters, like with Supergirl ending and stuff like that, without ever mentioning why they're not there, they would just let the Flash and Reverse Flash run around the Earth and not do anything about it.
I was thinking the same thing. It did that. Another plot hole drop.
They could have easily been like Supergirl's off-world again or something, anything. So I know there's a reason why she's not there. So that, yeah, again, another plot issue.
Carl was writing an article about it.
Here we go. Quinlan goes, Eric is turning the Flash into a soap opera focusing on romantic pairings. Getting the regular storylines correct should be a priority. And Gwendolyn, you know, the crazy thing about that is the last 3 episodes. Oh, you need to go for a second, Lance? You want to go for a second?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, take a break.
Kids.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it. Because Eric is turning the Flash into a soap opera focusing on romantic pairings. Getting the regular storylines correct should be a priority. I think the first 3 episodes of this event showed that they had the capability of writing correctly, like of writing good stories. So I don't know why they like fell back onto this again. I was very, very disappointed in that. So thank you for the super chat, Gwendolyn. I appreciate it. All right, so let us talk about Frost and Chillblade.
Yeah, the other super couple.
Chillblade. Yeah. All right, so we had them show back up. I didn't really have an issue. So first of all, I'm not a huge fan of Chillblade. I still think he's corny, but I think that's the purpose of the character, so I'm not going to complain about it. I mean, clearly they're in on the joke. Look at his costume. They're in on the joke, right? So we know that's the situation with him and whatnot. But I also thought it was a little weird they chose to fight Damien hand to hand after they had blocked his magic. I was like, what?
Like they still have their
someone who was
powers.
at the tip top of the League of Assassins in hand-to-hand combat,
and they have frost powers, and they chose to fight. Yes, as you said, a League of Assassins member hand to hand.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I was glad to see them. Lance, any thoughts on the two of them? They really didn't have much to do in the episode, so.
I mean, if this is all the chill blame that I get this season, I'm cool with it. Personally, Chillblade's better when he doesn't talk. Why Eric Wallace thought it was cool to put they're 2 grown people who I'm sure can go get a room, but no, let's hook up at a wedding shower in the bathroom.
Which, by the way, this feels like they're still back in 2021. This doesn't feel like an evolution of a relationship.
Exactly. This looks like day one of a relationship. Like, these 2 should be closing in on their 40s by the time that this scene is happening. Yep. And they're doing it in a bathroom?
How would Barry be the Reverse Flash if he was killed before he became... You know what, Java Dog, thank you for the super chat. We're getting there. This is a good question. We're going to get there. Trust me, I have mapped out so many things trying to figure this out. There are people that have tried to explain it to me, and I'm like, I get what the show said, but that is not how it happened. Thank you for the super chat. We're going to get there. I do appreciate it. All right, moving on to the next one here. We have the Ryan Choi suit that lasted for like 0.20 seconds in the episode. It wasn't that long or whatever. Thoughts on this, Lance?
Can I just say, when I saw it on screen, when it first popped up, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Wait, that looks like a repainted Reverse Flash suit without the earwings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm like, yeah.
Now, Canada Graphs, did you got photos of this suit, right? Did you get a couple?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it look to you like a repurposed Flash suit when you saw it, or did it look like it was made specifically for Ryan Choi?
No, I mean, again, kind of similar to the Reverse Flash suit I saw on set that night. The one I saw on set that night kind of looked like a spandex suit. Like it looked like it just looked spandexy to me.
Yeah, because now, from the chest up, it looks like it has some work done to try and make it look different. But I'm guessing that's why they didn't show it from the waist down, because it is just spandex.
Well, they started from the toes and went up,
right?
And but you don't see it for very long. Like you said, 5 seconds.
But you can tell that helmet is a Flash cowl without the chin guard on it.
Oh, sure, I will give you that. Yeah.
Still got the little speckles underneath it and everything.
Yeah, I see that. You can see it there in the little corner up there. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we also had Damien Dark. Now, this was one of the things I was looking forward to in the episode, and Barry actually interacted with him more than anyone else in 2031 because his friends kind of had turned on him and stuff like that. So there was a lot of scenes where he was working with Damien, and they were trying to come up with the plan here. And here's the thing. Damien Dark, these were the things I thought about going into the episode. Was he from Arrow or Legends? And this is a different version of Damien. This is one that's kind of a blend of the two. He's not quite Arrow, he's not quite Legends. He's kind of his own version of Damien. What did you think of that? What did you guys think of this version of Damien? Did you like him? Did you not like him?
He was good, yeah. I mean, we don't get a lot of them. I mean, we got one episode with what do you have? Probably 5 minutes of screen time. You can't compare that to a season of Arrow and a season of Legends to make the comparison. Right. But I liked what I got.
Right. And we were wondering how he was alive, and that comes out being it's just a different timeline. What his role was in all of this. And what we got was, again, he was a combo of both. The timeline had been altered, and he was there to assist Barry with the device to fix everything. It was kind of a MacGuffin device, and that was the whole purpose of it. I liked it. I loved his interactions with Barry. I think he's one of the few things in the episode where I don't really have any complaints about. I think everything about him sort of worked. He was a little over the top, but that's because he was kind of a mix of the two characters. Lance, do you like Damien? Have you ever liked him as a character, and how did you feel about him coming back? Were you excited to see him?
Yeah, I was very excited to see him back because it's been so long. So when they first announced he was coming back, I'm like, okay, cool. This is going to be an interesting take. I initially thought, like I'm sure you guys did too, that it was going to be the Damien Dark from Legends from the Legion of Doom because they announced him and Thawne at the same time. Mm-hmm. But hey, I like what we got. I really like what we got.
Pretty cool. All right, so here we go. Let's move into the heavy stuff from the episode. This is where things are going to get a little nitpicky. So I'm going to warn the chat, if you are easily triggered by me like picking apart this episode, get ready for a roller coaster ride here. So what we find out with this 2031 is that Eobard is responsible for everything. We see that he had been sabotaging stuff in 2021, as well as being a mastermind behind this new reverse flashpoint. He wanted to steal Barry's life by becoming the Flash from the start and taking all of Barry's accolades. And by going back in time, he's achieved that. He took Iris from Barry. He befriended all of Team Flash and has managed to turn Barry into the Reverse Flash and even kill him before he becomes the Reverse Flash. So it sounds super evil, but I think it went a step too far. What did you think of this explanation of how 2031 was this Reverse Flashpoint timeline? Thoughts on this? Either one of you.
Okay. Yeah, the killing him as a child thing, I think, becomes a huge problem with it. It's a huge problem. I don't even know the words I'm trying to think of for it. Now, from an entertainment standpoint, diabolically evil, and it works great in that aspect. From a rating standpoint, you're gonna have a heyday with this.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Trust me, we've got some stuff to go through here. Lance, were you happy to see Tom back? Are you a fan of Welzabard and such?
I am a fan of Welzabard. I am a fan of Eobard overall. The takes that have been on the show, I was glad that he came back. Once it was announced that it was Thawne all along, I'm like, cool. That explanation is where it just got convoluted and overall just confusing.
This is one of those instances where I think it was like, I love complexity. That's why I like mystery and stuff. I think they were like, okay, we're going to be complex, and then it's going to be complex to complex, then it's going to be convoluted, then it's just going to be off the rails. So let's go here. Timeline questions. This is 2 timeline questions I have, and trust me, there's more. How did Eobard turn this version of Barry into the Reverse Flash? In 2031 timeline, there was obviously another Barry who had an entirely different life. But how did Thawne manipulate a version of Barry into this level of revenge? Now, we know that Eobard from the future hates the Flash because he wants to be the Flash. And so he does everything he can to stop Barry Allen because he wants to be the hero. And that's all we really know about him, but it makes sense. What could have pushed Barry Allen from that reverse Flashpoint timeline to become a villain? We never learned that, but we learned that he's actually killed so many people. And we know that Barry Allen, if you want to believe that Barry Allen is one of those characters who always tries to do the right thing or always pushes to do the right thing, with the exception of the Time Remnant and Savitar, because we know that's a whole different thing. We never got to see that version of Barry because there was another Barry. Our Barry wasn't that Barry. That was a different one. So that was a huge question for me. Like, how did he turn Barry into the Reverse Flash? We don't get it. We don't understand it. It's never explained. And he kills Barry anyway. So how could he ever become the Reverse Flash? It just doesn't. It's like, what happened? Naruto here says that Armageddon Part 5 promo photos dropped. So I will pull those up at the end once we get there. If they just came out. All right. The second question. What happened to the 2031 Reverse Flash? Our Barry time travels to the future, but doesn't encounter his doppelganger. This is inconsistent, as there's been just a handful of times where they didn't encounter their doubles. That's one of the biggest problems with time travel, is running into yourself. It's one of the things that Legends has talked about. It's one of the things the Flash has tried to stay away from. And it's happened before. We've seen them travel to other time periods. There's been two versions of themselves. Where was the Reverse Flash Barry from 2031? Where was he? And if he did get erased because of what Eobard did, then why would this Barry get erased? Because he's not from the same timeline.
Exactly. Now, that's why I was thinking, okay, Thawne did say he knows how to manipulate the timeline better than any other speedster. It's still no way that he could possibly cover all his tracks and still make this make sense. It's impossible. Because he even told Barry, like, it's impossible. I was super careful. I wouldn't cause something like that to happen. I want to save this world. And that's basically the gist of what he was saying.
Yeah.
But you clearly didn't. So.
Oh, Stagger over here with the Fortnite
writing?
Super Chat. I enjoyed seeing Grant and Neil together doing scenes for the first time. Yeah, they were very good together. That's one of the things I loved about the Damien and Grant scenes, was that they had good chemistry on screen. Everybody's saying timeline changes. Timeline changes don't matter with these questions. These questions have nothing to do with those. His doppelganger being there, it has nothing to do with the timeline change. There's two different timelines. The changes wouldn't have affected the one that existed in 2031 from a timeline that's being erased. More questions. How did Arbery become connected to the negative Speed Force? This wasn't the version from 2031, and Arbery wasn't the one turned into the Reverse Flash and Reverse Flashpoint. So how did it happen, and why didn't Eobard know that? Because Eobard says Barry had less than 5% of his speed left. Well, no, he doesn't, because he's not using the Speed Force anymore, which is what he had before he got to 2031. He was connected to the negative Speed Force, which means even if he was slower than Eobard, he was not at 5% speed. It's clear he's running around with the negative Speed Force. It make sense.
That doesn't make sense at all.
It makes sense that the Flash from the Barry Allen from 2031 would be connected to the negative Speed Force. It makes no sense that our Barry was.
Yeah, like when I saw Canada Grass photos, I initially thought, okay, this is a alternate timeline where, this is gonna be the Barry Allen from that timeline. But once it got flipped, I'm like, okay, maybe they'll make it make sense somehow. Maybe we'll see a flashback. But they completely skipped over that for basically Eric Wallace is like, okay, they want to see something really cool. We're going to just hit them with a whole bunch of wow factors.
Well, not only that, but they could have had the world transforming around Arbery in 2021. If slowly things started to change in 2021 instead. So we'll get to that. There's a thing I'm saying about that with Eobard that makes sense. But basically, the 2021 timeline that we're in connected with this one, there needed to be something to make them more
connective tissue. Yeah.
Right. There was no connective tissue. And it says, the next question here is, why was Arbery the one vanishing from existence when he wasn't the one that Eobard killed? That was from another timeline entirely. Also, why did it take so long to happen? We've seen how quickly being erased from existence happens. It wouldn't have taken over 20 years.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I really wanted to see, because we knew it was an alternate timeline from the jump with the whole thing with Joe and all of that. So I'm like, can we start to see some of those changes a little bit? Maybe while he was standing there talking to Jeff, or I don't know, even when he's just out on the street.
And we've also seen the effects of people getting erased from existence. It doesn't work the way it did here. We've seen when Thawne has been erased, it's like a fracturing.
Yeah,
effect.
like a little particle.
Right.
Effect.
They don't just vanish like Back to the Future. That's not how that works in the Arrowverse world. Cody here with the $2 super chat. I think they wanted more comic book and less logic. I think that's where they went in this episode, which is weird because the first 3 were so good.
Yeah.
Here we go. Even more questions. What happened to the Wells from Reverse Flashpoint? Eobard said he went back and manipulated the timeline, but he looks like Wells. This means he actually still took over the life of Wells, so where is Wells? Did he admit he murdered him to Team Flash in the world? Also, what happened to the Eobard that was already in this timeline? Did Eobard kill him too? Where did he go? So if Eobard went back in time, he would have encountered himself and Wells. He would have encountered both of them. Not just one.
It's even more questions than that. If he says he's been the Flash from the jump, from the get-go, like he's the one that was in the particle accelerator accident, what happened to his his ancestor? What happened to good old Eddie?
Yeah.
How did that work?
Yeah, exactly. Staggerworth 19 super chat. Based on the episode, nobody was truly properly introduced to Ryan. Right, exactly. So the Batwoman introduction.
Probably back in 1 minute.
Okay. So the Batwoman introduction in this episode didn't matter because now they have to be reintroduced all over again because it wasn't our Batwoman.
Which is what I didn't like.
Yeah. So let's see here. Pull this up on the screen. Ash goes, it's not a CW event unless there's forced drama, convoluted time travel, and Team Flash turning against Barry for stupid plot reasons. Well, see, that's the thing, though. They didn't turn against Barry. In that timeline, Barry was never the Flash.
Yeah, he's always been the reverse. And even yet and still, when he traveled to that, what was it, like 2040 with the Savitar thing, they noticed that he was noticeably younger.
Right.
You would think that same logic should apply to when he's traveling to 2031. You would think that they would be like...
You would think that Damien would be like,
exactly.
You don't look like yourself or whatever.
You would think in
a world, because first of all, Damien, as corny as he is, he's not stupid.
Yeah.
And in a world where characters time travel, wouldn't he just assume, be like, well, you must not be the Barry that I know or whatever.
Especially since they mentioned the Legends of Tomorrow by name. You know, time travel is a thing. All of Team Flash should have known that as well.
Yeah. So here's some logic problems. There's a lot more plot holes, but let's go through this. How are characters moving between timelines so easily? We have 2 major timelines and 1 minor timeline in play here. And yes, I realize that Reverse Flashpoint takes time to set, but while that is happening, no one should be able to travel between our 2021 and that 2031. If someone from that timeline goes back in time, it should be the 2031's 2021 and vice versa. This being characters like Eobard and Despero would have never been able to interact with our Barry in our 2021. It wouldn't have been him.
That is true. And another thing, how did nobody notice that? Like, I mean, I get it. Eobard, unless they're trying to introduce that whole, the power of suggestion thing that he has from the comics, you would think that, the Speed Force would alert Barry something's wrong.
Yeah.
Or they could have even dropped in a line. Wally could have called in from off screen. He's like in touch with the Speed Force.
Right.
I sense something's off because it's no way a whole 6 months later, he mentioned Bart and Nora. He mentioned them in the first episode, and then all of this stuff with Joe started happening, and now we're in a completely different timeline. He's not the Flash anymore. You would think somebody would have noticed, okay, the timeline's off.
Galactic Hero, we're going to talk about that in a second because that was a completely dropped plot point. We'll go to that in a second, unless they bring it up in the next episode. Java Dog here with a $5 super chat. How was it that Barry entered 2031 in his Flash suit but turned into the reverse Flash suit? Okay, so this doesn't bother me if it actually worked the way I thought it would. So all it means is that somehow when Barry got there, he replaced the other Barry Allen, which doesn't make any sense, and that Barry had the reverse Flash suit. That's the only way that makes sense. I mean,
it kind of reminded me of the Flashpoint story, where once Barry actually popped out his Flash ring in front of Thomas Wayne and tried to show him that he was the Flash, it was the reverse Flash suit in the ring.
Yeah. And that's fine. Again, it's comic booky, but I mean, if that was the only thing we were talking about here, I would be like, that's cool. But it's one of the many issues that this episode had. But the thing is, we've seen, and this is Jay Garrick had explained to Barry that when a timeline is changed, you can't actually put it back together exactly the way it was. So there's no way to actually get back to the 2021 that we came from. So, and we'll talk about that with this device, this PED thing or whatever here in a second. But with that being said, we've never been able to go back to other timelines because that's not how time travel actually works. So the 2021, 2031, and then the timeline where Eobard killed Barry as a kid or whatever, they're 3 independent timelines, the way they're talking about them. Yeah. But that's not how time travel works in the Arrowverse. All right. 2, even if they had been able to travel between timelines, Eobard sabotaging R. Barry Allen wouldn't have made sense, mattered, or been in his favor. He had already turned Barry Allen into the Reverse Flash. He had already murdered another Barry Allen. Bringing this version of Barry into the fold only complicates his plan and made things more difficult for him. Had he never gone back and sabotaged this version of Barry, none of these events would have unfolded. And then we're going to talk about Despero. There was absolutely no reason for this Eobard to come back and mess with R. Barry. There was none. Because if that were the case, then why would he, like, if he had to come back and mess with R. Barry, then how is it that he had also gone back to 2013 and replaced the Flash and then killed Barry? R. Barry was a non-factor. It didn't matter because that timeline would have been erased. So he basically gave Barry the keys to defeating him.
He told him his entire plan.
Yeah, there was another Barry that already existed in Reverse Flashpoint. So I got something from Candigraphs.
You can check that out later when you look at the promos.
Yeah, we'll do that at the end. All right, so let's talk about Despero for a second. Why was Despero in our 2021? So Despero was present at the start of Armageddon. He saw how it happened, and obviously he was aware of the battle that occurred. This means he would have also been aware that Reverse Flash created Armageddon, not the Flash. He also wasn't aware that Barry Allen was the Flash, so this means he should have been looking for the Reverse Flash. Also, he should have been in the Reverse Flashpoints 2021, not ours. He also should have been able to detect the changes in time that he did at the end of the episode. Like, it's so messy. Why would him, being the character he is, have made all of these mistakes? That doesn't make any sense at all.
None whatsoever. And what confused me else at the end of the episode, you would think that once the Armageddon 2021 timeline was getting erased, shouldn't he have kind of, disappeared too? Mm-hmm. And also, he's standing in Star Labs. I don't care if Barry showed up there, right after. Don't they have I know Star Labs has terrible security, but wouldn't they have an alarm? Like, y'all just sitting up, chilling in the Cortex, eating Big Belly Burger, and it was just an alien downstairs that they've never met.
Because he supposedly reset everything. So why is Despero still there? Yeah. Where was Black Lightning? Where was Dion?
So I have one minor defense for them, and it is very minor because I don't think they put a lot of time into explaining it. So Despero comes back to 2021 to find the Flash because he says the Flash goes crazy. Well, Thawne's crazy.
But that never happened. That never happened in that timeline, though. That's what I'm saying, Candigraphs. Thawne making Barry look crazy happened in our timeline, not in Reverse.
Yeah, but Thawne himself is a crazy person.
But the Flash,
and in 2031, he also was running around the world at the same time as the Flash,
chasing the Reverse Flash.
Yeah, yes. But maybe that's all Despero knows, is that the Flash is the one that caused Armageddon, not the Reverse Flash being chased by the Flash.
That seems like a really weird oversight.
I'm just saying it's not the best excuse,
because he said that the Flash goes crazy, and we see that Eobard is setting that up in our timeline, but that never occurred in 2031. Because remember, Despero came back and said, "This is where it all begins." That's what he said.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I do see where he's coming from, though, because it's like, from the very first episode 1, when they first showed us how, Armageddon, Despero's standing there in the street. From the way they make it seem from his point of view, all he sees is the Flash, which is, at that point, from what we're led to believe, it's Eobard. He only sees the Flash running.
Right.
If we're going by that logic, if Barry would have never took off his mask, he wouldn't be so gung-ho. He would just know, hey, the Flash did it. That would have given him enough time to actually investigate.
That's true. But my question is, though, that's not his catalyst for coming back after the Flash. He says specifically that he comes back to 2021 because that's when the Flash loses his mind and starts to go crazy. That's why he's back in 2021.
Yeah,
which means that he's not chasing the Flash from 2031. He just knows that the Flash goes crazy in 2021, which doesn't make sense because he's from the reverse Flashpoint timeline.
Yeah, and
that never happened in that timeline.
Plot holes.
Yeah, I backed down from my original debate
because he didn't even know that Barry was the Flash until the end of episode 1. So he would have had to come back specifically looking for the Flash because he goes crazy in 2021. He even said this is the point when it happens. Like he knew chronologically when that happened from a timeline that he didn't even exist in. So that doesn't make any sense. Mike Glenn with the 49 Super Chat. There were a lot of inconsistencies, but I was busy fanboying and geeking out. This episode was the most comic book and DC animated movie type episode. I will not disagree with that. I think there was a lot of great moments in this. So here's the thing, guys, and Mike, this is also for you. Thank you so much for the Super Chat. I did not hate the episode. Like, there are parts of the episode I did hate. I am a stickler for consistent storytelling, and usually, at least in the last 3 episodes, they've been really good about leading up to it. The problem is when you revealed an answer to a mystery, it has to line up with everything or it falls apart for me. And this was all of those reveals. This was like the peek behind the curtain. And so a lot of it did sort of bother me in the end. Here we go. This is funny. Ash, that's the thing about time travel, Eric. The more you write about it, the less it makes any sense. We've known that since Savitar. That is a writer's excuse for not having to write stuff correctly.
The less the rules apply to you.
Yeah, we'll drop this down for a second. Scott here with the 49 Super Chat. You think Black Lightning, Superman, White Canary, Mia, Queen, and Stargirl will be in the 10-year Arrow anniversary event? If they do one, I want those 5. I don't know about Stargirl, and I don't know about Mia. I think they're ending Mia's storyline in the 5th episode of this event, so don't know if Mia will come back. Black Lightning, Superman, White Canary all seem like fair game to me, so we'll see there. All right, is that all the super chats? Okay, let's get back through this quickly here. We're going to run through these quickly because I'm giving everybody, this is the 15-minute warning, the 15-minute warning for the stream. Iris West and the negative still force. One of the big reveals last week was that someone was manipulating the negative still force. However, this week we see that Eobard was just using his speed, the speed force itself, to do all of this. Where was the negative still force mentioned or used here? It wasn't part of Iris's story. It wasn't part of Eobard's story. And there wasn't another version of Dion present. Also, he just vanished after the standoff with Despero last week, which we talked about that a second ago. I don't know what happened. So what happened to this plot point? Where did this go? We were excited to see how he was manipulating the other forces, and it was literally not mentioned at all.
I don't think there was. I mean, I get that you, from the stickler of details type person, wants all of these details explained, but I don't think that needed an explanation. I mean, sure, they could have put in 3 minutes of screen time there explaining how or why and take out all the Allegra and Chester stuff.
Yeah, they could have taken out all the Allegra and Chester stuff.
Yeah. You won't get an argument from me. I'm just saying that I don't think it was needed. We just
that's what told them what was happening, though. That was the entire thing that led up to Barry going to 2031. Like, that's how Iris figured all this out. Like, it was a huge plot point in episode 3.
Okay, but Barry going to 2031, once he's there, he doesn't need to be like, this is how it happened from the negative still force.
He didn't, but Eobard, they were saying he was manipulating the negative still force, and we never saw anything about that because he was not even the reverse Flash. That doesn't make any sense. Even if they don't address it, he wasn't the reverse Flash. He was the Flash. He wouldn't have been using the negative still force.
Well, I mean, he's the Flash in everybody's eyes, but we don't know if he's still not using the negative speed force.
Well, according to the way he's portrayed visually on the screen, Barry was the negative speed force and he was the regular speed force.
Okay.
I mean, that's the way it looked to me, but the chat could say otherwise, I guess. Mike here with the 49 Super Chat. So shows explanation is probably the timeline was not solidified. Will we see Legion of Doom soon? Batman? I thought I heard a Batman name drop. I don't think they name dropped Batman. They did talk about the Red Death and the Two-Face. Yeah. Legion of Doom, I don't know if we're ever going to see them again. I think it was just a Legends thing. I wouldn't be opposed to having them come back. I think they were fun. That was my favorite season of Legends.
I mean, if they do come back, it's going to be soon because that happened in 2021, apparently. Because that was the week Chester and Allegra hooked up.
That's true. You're right. That's absolutely
So
true.
if it's happening, it's happening this season.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. How many did you guys look up the pictures yet for the next week?
Mm-hmm.
Pull them up. So.
Oh no.
I didn't pull them up. I just looked at them on Flash TV's page, which you only you have to look at one per page. So if you find a better way to look at them, go ahead. But I pointed out which ones I think are the most interesting in that DM.
All right. Yeah. We'll go through them here in a second. We got a couple more things I want to talk about quickly. Okay, so big thing. This wasn't an anachronism. I know they said it was in the show, but it wasn't. There was no objects at play here. This is simply Eobard running back and changing time in two different timelines. Also, if this device, the PED, worked the way Damien suggested, wouldn't it reset our timeline back before any changes were made? How does this thing work? What does it actually do? It's so frustrating. Basically, this device, the PED, was supposed to change any changes in a timeline, which means if Barry went back to 2021 and used that device, it should have reset multiple things because there's been so many changes to Barry's timeline. The device wasn't properly explained. I'm not going to try and break down what it does, but it works on anachronisms, and this was not an anachronism. It does not fit the definition.
I think the only reason why they put that in there is because at the same time as the regular Flashpoint from season 3, that's around the same time that lines up with the Legends of Tomorrow season where they were dealing with anachronisms, and then you had Sarah in the crossover saying, "Oh, Barry, you went and did this, and we've been working to correct all these." And they only tied them together because of that.
So you're thinking that it was just used because that was the season that Eobard was part of the Legends. That's kind of what I thought too. I just thought it was weird to name drop that because I'm like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. And what we should have seen is Barry face off against Eobard in 2013 back when he was a kid, and that's how it should have happened. The device was kind of lazy to me. I would have much preferred him to go back and stop Eobard from doing everything he did. That would have been a cool way to wrap up the episode for me. That's just me though. Okay, so this is how they should have done it, and then we're going to move on to the pictures, I believe. Simple fix to all this nonsense. Make it so they aren't jumping into a reverse flashpoint. Eobard comes back and sabotages our Barry and makes him look evil. The next 10 years, he keeps pushing Barry, slowly turning him into the reverse Flash. By the time we arrive in 2031, Eobard is a good guy who has helped Team Flash stop Barry multiple times. They trust him and totally mistrust Barry. All the deaths done by the 2031 Barry would have been in our Barry's hands, and this would have hit home, and this prevents all of this nonsense. If they would have just done it that way, because that's the way they set it up. They wanted us to believe that when Eobard came back and sabotaged Barry in 2021 and made him look bad, that led to 2031. And that would have worked for me. I would have had no complaints about that. But by him going back to 2013 and making himself the Flash, that's where all this mess started. That was unnecessary. It made no sense to me. This would have been the perfect way to do it. And every other element of the story would have been exactly the same. It would have changed absolutely nothing. It would have made Despero make sense. It would have made everything Iris doing make sense. It would have made all the other characters being there make sense. The only character that was different in the storyline for plot reasons was Damien because of Nora. That was the only part they needed to be that way because they didn't need to make Ryan a jerk either. Ryan Choi, they could have made him his normal self. That was unnecessary as well.
They erased his whole family.
Yeah. So this could have been a simple fix. It would have been so much easier to just do it this way. After he comes back and makes Barry look crazy back in 2021, the next 10 years, Barry does go crazy. And this leads up to Armageddon, and they have to stop it from happening. That would have made sense. All this other stuff just doesn't. I just... So weird to me. But the good news is we're back at our timeline in 2021 for the next episode. Eobard is also there with the new Reverse Flash suit, which, by the way, still looks great on Tom as much as it looked on Grant. I love this suit. I think we're going to have a pretty wild finale for this event, and I'm very excited for it. I'm assuming everyone else is too. Even though I picked this episode apart, at the end of the day, I still love The Flash. I think this is the best the show's ever been, and I think it's much better than it's been over the last couple seasons. I have very little complaints in that department. Anything else you guys want to add to that at all, or how do you feel about it?
No, like I said, I mean, from an entertainment standpoint, from just being entertained, I think my second favorite of the crossover. From a writing standpoint, yeah, I mean, it has to be the worst, and it has to be the worst by a fair bit. So that's where I'd put it. I gave the episode a 9, but that's from an entertainment standpoint because I don't want to sit there and think over every detail of what does and doesn't make sense. Because I just do accept that when you're writing a superhero show, you are going to trip over yourself all of the time trying to write your way out of things.
Especially 8 seasons in.
Yeah. If we actually wanted them to be accurate about every detail, we would get 4 episodes a season every 2 years. That's how long it would take them to go over every detail and make it sure it lined up.
Lance, I'll let you go, but Staggervorce says, Eric, they need to hire you as head writer for The Flash. Maybe not head writer, but idea person. Let me be the idea person. I'll let somebody else who's more eloquent write. Because for me, it would be like he kicks her, he punches her. That's what the writing would be. So there we go. Lance, what about you? What are you thinking about this setup so far going into the final episode?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like Canada Graphs and you said, I would probably give it like an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. Writing wise, it did have a lot of issues, but I mean, like I said, I have to give it up to Eric Wallace. He gave us the flashpoint that we could have had back in season 3.
Yeah,
he gave us a good.
It's a proper event.
Flashpoint.
This could have been, if Flashpoint would have been 5 episodes, it would have been way better.
Perfect. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good fan service, good comic booky stuff for all of us comic book fans out there. You honestly didn't know where things were going. And, it wasn't predictable. Right.
That's true. There was nothing predictable about any of this. That's absolutely true.
Definitely was not, especially a lady in Chester.
All right, so we got 5 minutes left. Guys, we're going to look through the pictures quickly from the Flash TV news. And this is for the next episode of Armageddon. So if you don't want to be spoiled on any of this, make sure you turn away now. God, I hate having to do this every time. There's one of West Allen, one of Barry. What do we got here? We got Team Flash chilling. Okay, that's not exciting at all. Joe's back. Okay, that's exciting. That's exciting. That's right, because they did find out that Joe had returned. He called Joe on the phone right away, which, by the way, was super emotional. I got a little emotional on that. I'm like, okay, Joe.
So did I, yeah.
So that's really good.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that Thawne just decided he's not going to stick hands through chests anymore. I'm just going to push people in front of trains.
He wants to make it look like an accident, right?
He likes the drama of it all, I guess. All right, here we go. There's quite a few pictures here. Okay, here we go. West Allen. There we go. That's cute. Okay, I'm glad to see them back together.
Wes Horton.
Okay.
So here's the one I sent you in the DMs I told you about.
Yeah. So Mia's shot, is that Caitlin there next?
I don't know who it is. You can't see, and it doesn't say in the bio who's in the photo with them.
I'm going to assume people.
I don't know, but I assume it's Caitlin because
You'll
Caitlin
see in it.
a lot.
There's another one coming up with Mia that's interesting.
All right, let's see. Oh, Mia versus Iris.
What does she get this gun from?
That gun is her gun. Like it was Harry's gun. Now it's Iris's gun. She has it all the time. That's a pretty cool shot, actually, of Mia going up against Iris. That's really good. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, I think that was Caitlin was shot because that looks like the same outfit that person was wearing.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see. There's Mia. I can't. You know what? I'll be honest with you. If you would have told me that Mia would come back to the Arrowverse on The Flash, I would have been like, "What?" Of all the shows, like it just. I mean, I guess because it's time travel, but still, I also didn't think that Kat McNamara would come back to the show because she seemed like she was on as well. So, all right, let's see here. Oh, it looks like Iris got her. All right.
I guess I must have skipped over that photo. I missed it.
Yeah, there's Caitlin. It was her. So there we go. All right. Why do they space those out? That's weird. They're like spaced out like that. We got the team back together. I think Chester should start growing out his hair now because I liked him with the long hair, even though it looked a little weird. I thought it was cool. There we go. Big shot of Mia. All right.
Is that a new suit?
Yeah, it looks new to me or different. Yeah, looks different.
It might just be the weird coloring.
Yeah. So that's it. Those are all the shots there from the upcoming episode. I'm super excited about this wrap up. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. By the way, they're saying that you need to watch the pilot for.
I'm okay, thanks.
I'm good on that one.
So anyway, all right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It was a lot of fun today chatting with everyone. Regardless of how hard I am on the show, I'm still having a good time with it. I just want you guys to know that I love The Flash, and I'm willing to give it a pass on a lot of things. I love Eobard, so when it comes to his character, I'm always super nitpicky because I absolutely love Eobard Thawne. So there we go. Anyway, we're out of here. Canographs, thank you so much for being here. Go check out his blog. He's always got like behind the scenes stuff. As a matter of fact,
hopefully there'll be some Batwoman stuff in the next 24 or 48 hours.
I'm going to toss it over to Lance here. He doesn't have a big YouTube, but you have some very exciting stuff going on your end. So promo your stuff and then let everybody know where they can find you on social media.
Yeah, so like you said, I don't really have a big YouTube presence when it comes to, pop culture, comic book culture. But my regular YouTube channel, you could just type in my name, Lance Ringo. It has all my drum content, my music content. You can also follow me on a new social media platform called Gig Me Pro. It's by one of my friends. It's black owned, so that's really dope. I started a group over there trying to get people to come in. It's just based on like Arrowverse, Marvel, anything. I'm going to be talking about.
I'm signing up after this.
I'm going to be over there talking about Spider-Man No Way Home next week. Talking about the Arrowverse Flash Armageddon finale next week. So come join me. You can find me on Instagram at Lance_iDrum and find me on Twitter at DrummerFanatic1. And Facebook is just Lance Ringo. So, yeah, right. I'd love to see you guys.
There we go. Go support Lance, and he'll be back to see us again. So, it seems like you got a lot of stuff going on over there, Lance.
My kids won't.
It's the fam life. Hashtag fam life. Hashtag fam life. Anyway, in the chat, drop your scores for this episode. I see some 8s. I see some 9s. I'm going to say it's at least an 8, 8.5 for me. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed it, all the comic book stuff. And that's pretty much it. We're out. We will see everyone next week for the big wrap-up
everybody.
of Armageddon. So.